Hi guys, today we are going to work on fixing our mistakes. Could there be a more perfect fitting way to start 2023? About self-improvement. Crap, I just realized I didn't even set resolutions. Well, today is the day to do that, I guess. We're going to revisit this pair of cotton sleep shorts that I made a while back. Every time I draft this pattern and turn it into something more functional, it changes, my sizes change. With all the athletic stuff that I'm involved in, my body recomposition over the last 2.5 years has really taken off versus the body recomp I started in 2016. So we now have clothes that either need to be tailored, shortened, altered, gotten rid of, let's be honest, redrafting patterns to make things fit, etc. So this is some drafting paper that I got in my hometown because my hometown has an actual fashion college. Ironically, we teach that and agriculture. Why not? So those two things, of course, being that they go together, the thrift stores happen to be laden with sometimes scrap fabrics left over from the fashion students, but we also have some of the fashion supplies, including the drafting paper. So excuse the shaky cameras, but here we go. So I took the fabric that I had, and I wanted to save it because I really liked the pattern of this English cotton. Now, the pattern is not specific to anything in relation to one type of point in history or not, but there is things in history where there's little bits of, perhaps calligraphy styles that were featured more than others. So I wanted to preserve as much of the original decoration on this cotton piece as possible in my future design as I went about cutting it up, sewing it, and redrafting it. So I took a pant pattern that I actually do have that I drafted for myself. There's the amazing watch. We do have different pieces of patterns that make up shorts depending on which company you get your pattern for making shorts or pants from. But in my case, I had drafted a pattern that just needed to be re-altered. So I took my original measurements of what I was trying to get as a pattern, and then I drew them out so that I could redraw them once again. I do like to use my quilting ruler when I do this type of activity, just because I do prefer the straight lines. Sometimes I will actually draw triangles or direct lines from point A to point B, and then redraw curvature for perhaps hip or the crotch drop that are in some of the leg patterns. So here we go. This is the small, minute, sort of centimeter markings that comes on the paper. It comes in a roll. For the life of me, I don't know where these kids are buying this paper from. It's probably from the school bookstore, but when it came to redrawing my patterns, I found that if you can find this kind of paper, your Sharpie and your thicker, darker, brighter, more staining type of marker does not go through this the type of paper. So if you are drawing it out on hardwood, as I was in my case, because I don't have the fancy drawing tables, I found that my pens didn't stain the floor beneath, which was an important factor when you perhaps tend to redraw or redraft patterns as often as I do. Now, if you do happen to try and do this by hand, I don't have some of the drafting tools that many people use when they're redrafting sort of the pant inseam. So I faked it and I used the bend in my measuring tape to actually figure out the correct drop in the top seam from the hip down to the inner leg crotch seam. So when I was dealing with the fabric, I found that not only did I have more fabric than I needed lengthwise, it was not tall enough. So then I had to come up with what would I do for the waistband. I decided that I would take double measurements of 2-inch ribbon, sew them back to back, and that would become my waistband. And it actually worked very nicely, which you'll see in the further shots. I wanted to make sure though that I had as much fabric to work with as possible, so I did press this cotton fabric just by lengthening out and letting it dry sort of in a damp, flat position, because I didn't have time to iron it on this particular day. While you're doing this, it's also important to make sure that you get fully distracted. Find another piece of stretch cotton, make sure you can come up with enough fabric to do shorts, and then make a whole nother set, because why not add to your pile of projects to do?